Let's talk about Professor Zayton Honeycutt, aka the Fugitoid, in my Ninja Turtles universe. Zayton Honeycutt was a genius scientist on the planet of Neutrino. However, it is because of his genius that he became a target of General Krang and the Utrom Empire. Zayton's intelligence rivaled their own scientists, and that could not be allowed. Zayton was conscripted into the Utrom military, where he was forced to make weapons for the Utrom Empire. Eventually, Krang's immense violence turned towards the planet of Neutrino, and Krang began killing all of Honeycutt's species. Honeycutt tried to stop Krang, but Krang had one of his Triceraton soldiers shoot and kill Honeycutt. But what Krang didn't know is that Honeycutt had already perfected the technology to transfer a living consciousness into AI. And so while Krang thought he had killed Honeycutt, what actually happened is that the second his biological body was killed, his mind was transferred in to an android body waiting to receive him. This project was all done in secret under the guise that this was a new prototype for an Utrom mech. But after this android came online and then ran away, he became labeled the Fugitoid. You see, General Krang is such a monster that when General Krang commits genocide, he does so thoroughly that the species that he eradicated has no history of existing. The Utrom are so terrifying because anyone who opposes them literally just vanishes. No one has any evidence that the Utrom themselves are actually the ones committing all of the atrocities around the universe. And now, a literal digital recording of every single war atrocity Krang had ever committed was on the loose. The Fugitoid ran for decades and eventually wound up on Earth, because even though he was now the last surviving member of his own species, he knew he had to keep what was in his head safe, just in case ever an authority powerful enough to try Krang for his crimes came to be. And so he was tracking down more crimes that Krang was committing. After the Triceratons slaughtered all of the Utrom and the 150 remaining Utrom scattered into the galaxy, this guy went on his own personal mission to try and clean up any mess that they had remaining, which included him tracking down where all of the mutagen was, and that led him to Earth. While hiding on Earth, he eventually built multiple more android hosts, ones that looked like humans that he could transfer his mind in between so that he could live amongst the humans while he was there doing his work. And one of those many identities got a job at TCRI and became Baxter Stockman's right-hand man. And that identity was Dr. Harold Lilja. He's a grumpy, curmudgeonly man that Baxter never fully let into his operation. Baxter hid the mutagenic part from everyone except himself, but this guy knew. The Fugitoid knew. As Harold, he kept tabs on TCRI and basically recorded anything that seemed to imply if Krang was on his way here. Because now, with less than 150 Utrom, Zayton Honeycutt was getting the idea that maybe he himself could finally take Krang down once and for all. As Harold, he serves as a mentor for April O'Neil, and eventually he trusts her and then the Turtles so much that he reveals his true self. Then they protect him for witness protection, essentially, as he becomes the main informant in the trial against Krang, held by the Triceratons and the other species that would agree out in the universe. And that is the Fugitoid in my Ninja Turtles universe.